Good morning, everybody. It's Marty JavaScript Party. No Rhett today because I have 5 dogs in the house. In the house. My son, he just had a new baby girl, our first granddaughter, and he's got a lot of things going on. He's at the sort of the front end of a really good looking uh, legal career, and so um, sometimes there's just a bit too much for him to handle, and we were happy to allow the dogs, his two highly energetic dogs, to stay here. But I don't really want to take a chance with Red. I'm sure 99% chance, 99, literally 99% chance that I could drag her back here. There'd be no issues. But when you're dealing with long term kind of things, 99% just quite isn't good enough. Um, so, anyways, here we are, and we know that the aspect ratio is one. I mean, it's 1.52302057826788877. But for some reason, my thing is showing it to be one, which is really weird because it starts off as zero and then it becomes one. And I think I even added like some time or something. Yeah, so that it would have time to go in. I'm curious if I make this back to zero, if if we get any weird inspect. Yeah, so nothing's weird. Everything works fine. So time didn't help at all. Now we did learn. Oh, that's right, because we don't have one. We've got to figure out what to do in that situation. That's one that I 99% sure that all that is annoying. That is so annoying. So I'm 99% sure that I don't have to have a whole lot of discipline to force myself to do it, to deal with this. But cannot read calculated. Okay, let me clear this, reload this page, add one, and see if that was just like a carryover. Okay, let me clear this. Let's go back to this view, add one, and then change views. Okay, so that was some kind of carryover. Um, so this is fascinating to me. And then what's really weird was like something I was thinking about yesterday was I have seen this thing in developers that just drove me nuts. And I guess to take one more step back, I was watching this show called Young Sheldon. It's great. It's a great little show. If it's a feel good show, it's on Netflix. It takes about 20 minutes to watch one. Fantastic show for me to watch right before bed. It's always very positive, sweet um, concepts and ideas, and the people are good to each other, and it's just really a good show. I like that show a lot, and it's a great show to go to bed to. But so the idea is in the show, there's like one of the kids. His name is Sheldon. He's super genius, absolute genius, and so they're testing his IQ in some sort of twins test because he has a twin sister, and he's just like killing the IQ test. And then they show him like pictures with like emotional stuff in there, and he's like, "What? It's three monkeys. Monkeys don't sit on couches. Monkeys, like he's completely blind to any sort of emotional sort of thing, and and there's just this huge blind spot that he's just not even aware of. And then you wonder, like, oh, if they said, hey, there's these emotional cues in here, and you're not even noticing them. You have a blind spot there. Like, if they actually told him that, would he still be as smart afterwards, or would his brain start getting consumed with um, all kinds of highly complex social sort of things? But anyways, I have noticed that a lot of developers, the majority of developers, I would say, like when you say, "Hey, can you make figure out a bug or make a change or whatever," they'll just start writing code in a million different places. They'll just start hopping around, almost like in complete chaos. Write, okay, I'll write some code here, then I'm going to go write some code there, and then I'm going to write some code here, and then I'm going to refresh, and I'm going to be surprised when it doesn't work. And I'm always like, what the hell are you doing, dude? You got to start at the beginning and kind of slowly work your way up. And yesterday when I was coding, I noticed that I did that exact thing. I just started hopping all over the place, writing code all over the place instead of sort of starting in one place and sort of working through it. And it dawned on me it's because I'm thinking about things in more of a modular way instead of like in a functional way. And by functional, I mean like, okay, where's a good starting spot for this problem? And let me start working my way back and find all the different pieces. And if there's been one criticism of my code over the decades, been very consistent. It's that many times I'll write code in places where it just doesn't belong. So sometimes there's like sort of a gap. Hey, there's a place for this code to belong, and then there's a place where this code will work. And they're not always the same place. And so I've always been pretty good at getting things to a place where they'll work, but not necessarily to a place where they belong. And so in this yesterday's situation, I wrote all the code in all the places that it belonged, and now it doesn't work. Now I'm not criticizing that, but I do think that at this point, what should happen is I should go back to my original roots and sort of work backwards and try to figure out, okay, why is this not working right? And stepping through, now that I have all the sort of code represented where it should be, because it's not working. It really surprised me that it didn't work. It actually didn't surprise me that it didn't work because I've never seen this work before. I've never seen someone hop through and write a bunch of code in a bunch of different places and then hit reload and it work. Um, so I think if you want maintainable code, you sort of have to write your code in the way that I was kind of describing, where you think of everything as in like, this system takes care of that system, this module takes care of this, that module takes care of that. You have to kind of think in that mindset. But then once you have all the things where they belong, you have to dig down and figure out, okay, where's my gap, where are things not working, and then do another round of, okay, is this in the right place, is that in the right place, does this code make sense here, does that code make sense there? And you sort of have to iterate back and forth. And probably at first, since I'm sort of exercising that new sort of skill, I'm trying to develop that new skill, it's probably going to be kind of slow. So that to me was pretty interesting. The number two interesting thing is aspect ratio. It is wild how aspect ratio has just kind of jumped out as a problem child. And the reason it is a problem child is because I think that in ThreeJS was probably designed to emulate the way things work in the physical world. And aspect ratio in the physical world, original physical world, I believe, was like handled mechanically by kind of controlling the amount, like setting up borders around the camera. So it's like, oh, you want a 3x4, okay, and it sets little borders so that it's not just this round thing. It's like so you can control where exactly the shape of whatever you're looking at. And then I have a feeling that next iteration was like for TVs and things like that, or like the billboards that you see when you're driving around, the digital billboards, that kind of thing, where the aspect ratio never ever changes. It's always the same. But now we have this web situation where you can change the size of the screen, and you want a different aspect ratio based on the size of the screen, like, right? So like if I go like this and I come back to here, and then I come back to here, and I come back to here, see, now we've got a different aspect ratio. That like our aspect ratio is 1.92, but because it's width over height, so it's not as wide as it is tall. But then if we come back over here, we're going to go back to like that 1.77 situation again. Right? So this is sort of a technology that was designed and built around a concept that wasn't really available, which makes it a very interesting thing because that means we have the opportunity to do things that no one's ever done before or that has been rarely ever, like we found some fresh stuff. So like I've always imagined like when you wake up a lot of times and you're looking around, like it takes a second for things to come to into like become clear. And I think that in your eye what happens is your the one is things are a bit like fuzzy, but two, the aspect ratio is probably sort of like getting too big and then too small and then too big and kind of settling into the right spot. So it's like your brain tuning itself to the way your eye is working right now. And I do think that your eye kind of changes throughout the day as you start to get more fatigued and stuff. But so we actually could create a pretty cool animation of this where the aspect ratio sort of kind of gets too small, and then too big, and then too small, and then too big, and sort of settles in like into a thing. So it feels like aspect ratio sort of jumped out as like the first property that we want to be able to control. But it is such an interesting one because most properties you just want to set, or you want to set a start and an end spot. But you have like a place that you want to settle in. You know, oh, I want something to be 2 feet wide by 1 foot tall by 3 inches deep. You know, like that's how you normally want to do things. But um, aspect ratio really, there's only you want it to either be right, like to be perfect for the space that it's fitting in, or you want it to be animated, but you probably don't ever want it to be um, like wrong. Like you would never want to set it to 2 and it just stays at 2. So it's like a very interesting, um, it's a very unique property. And I do think it is, in our editor, it is probably the only property that in this round I would like to get to where I can control. And as part of this, I probably will also want to get the animation piece working. And it's not like a linear animation like we normally would have. Um, it's a like a one time one through. It goes from too wide, too tall, too wide, too tall, too wide, too tall. And so I think that it kind of it would, like if I can get it working right, um, it would, and do it in a really really manageable and reasonable, and by reasonable I mean easy to reason about way, um, then I think we're on a really good spot. And if it takes the rest of the year to do that, I think it's time well spent. So that's where I'm at, and that's kind of a conclusion that I came up with throughout the day yesterday and then today. So that's that. So anyways, now we are showing the wrong aspect ratio here. Um, and we are showing this calculated aspect ratio in the template, right? So if we go to the template, this would be the first place to look. Oh, okay, it's calculated aspect ratio. So this is normally would be like, so yesterday I kind of went through and wrote a bunch of code in a bunch of places and then hit reset and hope that it worked. And it didn't. No big surprise there. I should not even be surprised by that. I think the whole point of that is just for architectural purposes, just so everything's in the right place. I do not want a kitchen sink in the middle of the guest bedroom. Like, it might make most sense. You might be like, oh, when we have guests, they generally have kids, so I would like to have I would like to make it easy for them to get to the sink so that they can, make wash bottles and do stuff for their babies. Well, like, probably like my original way would be like, okay, well, I'm just going to put a sink in the guest bedroom. But I don't want a sink in the guest bedroom. All kinds of other problems happen if I do it that way. So what do I want? Well, I probably want the guest bedroom to be next to the kitchen with a special door that goes to the guest bedroom, right? So right now, So the first thing you would do is you'd put your guest bedroom here, you'd put your your kitchen here, and you do build everything out, and you'd be like, wait, the the young couple has to go out in the hallway, down the hallway, all the way around, and then they can get to the kitchen. So now it's time for me to figure out, okay, now how do I make the door so that it's in a reasonable way where they can easily get to it, like, or how do I make a special pipe that goes from the kitchen to the guest bedroom or something, like it's time to come up with a good to make I put everything in it where it belongs, and now it's time to make it work. So the first step to making it work, so I'm gonna come at this a whole different way than I came at things before to get here, is I look in the template and I see that I'm looking at calculated aspect ratio. So then you go to the TypeScript and you see that, okay, yes, we have calculated aspect ratio. And so then you go Control F. And you say, oh, okay, so it's getting it from the ST renderer and all that, which I think makes sense. I don't want the I don't want information coming from 3 directly into the template. So I don't want the components talking straight to 3. I want the components talking through ST and 3, because the only reason ST exists is to make things. It's a shim, right? So like if you have a door and it's hanging too low and you don't want it, you could put a shim down here and force it to stay up, right? It's a thing to even out the demands of the components from the demands of ThreeJS. ThreeJS wants things a certain way. The components want things a certain way. Things get weird. So ST's job is to be the translator between the two of them. So to me, this makes sense. I'm happy about this. So I'm going to right click and go to the definition. All right, so basically that is not what I wanted. So the definition just basically told me that, hey, there's a calculated values section. It has a object, and that object only has one property, and that's aspect ratio. So then I can hit this little arrow and go back, and then I'm going to try another thing. See, I would have thought type definition would have taken me there. Go to implementations. So there's one, and so here's where aspect ratio, that is so wild. Okay, so this is where it gets set, right here. And it gets set by this. So this thing will set it to width or height. So I think this only gets set in these 2 places. So I'm going to do a Control F. Wait, aspect ratio. Okay, so both of them are that. So I'm going to do this and just see where all this thing is set. So there's only 2, it's these 2. Well, wait a second. Sorry, there's multiple places that it's put. Oh, okay, this is just where we assign it. And then this is where it is assigned. Oh, okay, yeah, and then it's either set here if it doesn't exist, or it's set here. And then right afterwards it gets set to it uses 3 service to set it. So this is sort of the nexus point. This is the point where the whole point of this ST render calculated values is to make it available to the template or to anything out inside of Angular, and the whole point of and to tell ThreeJS what it wants it to do. How ThreeJS sets this is in ThreeJS. So like if we were go look in there, we see that it sets the value in the camera. It gets a copy of the camera, and then it calls a function for it. I guess I might as well just show it. Go to, I think now I can go to definition. See, so basically it sets it in the camera and calls this update matrix width. Projection matrix. So that is not something that we want done. I mean, that is not something that we want over here. We don't even want to think about project matrices and stuff, projection matrices and stuff like that. All we want to do is keep track of this. So why? So let's say console updating. So this updates it, right? Updates aspect ratio. And then comma aspect ratio. And again, at this point, I don't really I have no idea. It doesn't make a bit of sense to me that this isn't working. So I'm just sort of poking around, seeing where I can figure out. And then this one creates aspect ratio. And for some reason, and it's not Ray-Sean, creates of seems like the right word. Over here, it seems like to is the right word. Over here, it seems like of is the right word. I don't really understand it, but so I'm wondering what the best solution is. I get to think about this all the time, right? What is the best solution for this? I feel like if you go to an update, what we should get is a list of actual available visualizations, and then you can click it and go there. So if it doesn't exist, we should get a list of the visualizations that do exist. And if there aren't any, then it should probably give you a link to one of the other views. Or maybe a link to create one. I don't know. It would be interesting to see if what is easier for my architecture. I know in the architecture that I set it up the way I've optimized it, it would be very simple to create a link that goes to the grid or the tabular view, and then you can create one from there. And it kind of seems like it would be cool, like if we had an add button on this thing. But it'd also be, it would probably be a little bit more convenient to be able to hit a button and it just create a basic one of these. And I think that would be a little harder, but I think it'd be easier on me when I'm coding and developing. All right, so let's look in our console. So creates updates aspect ratio of one, and then we even got this, which is weird because I don't feel like we got that before, right? When we went. So, so I don't know why that like, oh, you know what? I think that keeps being a carryover from when we reload this. Yeah, so if I reload this, I'll get that. Yeah, see, that's how I'm getting that. So this is not probably going to be an issue in the future. I don't think it's worth doing anything with. Update. All right, so 1.54. So now let's come over here and say, so obviously this seems to be working exactly as we would expect, I think. Let me go back to this again. Let me clear this. Boom. So we got aspect ratio of 1, which is right. We have another aspect ratio of 1, which is right. See, now we have an aspect ratio of 1.523. So I don't understand why this one is wrong. So the next question would be to come back over here. Console.log. Usually at this point, since I have it in multiple places, I'll start to put the name of the function in here. And for me, what's wild about that, about all of this is that what's really wild about all of this is that I forgot what I was going to say, but yeah, I forgot what I was going to say. I'm sure I'll remember. I'm hoping I'll remember in a second. Okay, so let's go ahead and clear this, because that thing is a distraction. So it would definitely be easier if it just went to here, and it would be even easier if it went to here, right? And then I could just hit add viz. But the easiest, without a doubt, would be if I give myself the ability to create a new one from there and then have it drive me to the new one, whatever its idea is. So for some reason, finalize is happening before update. So it's getting finalized before the update. And what was wild about that is that even when we added like a 1 second await, get renderer by ID, clear. And again, like, so, okay, so, oh yeah, that's what I'm going to say. Everything that I have sort of been going through in this, when I'm coding, like for my job, happens in seconds. But I'm taking like a day for something that would happen in seconds, like less 15, 20, 30 seconds. And then sort of microscope analyzing, okay, what is it I do here? How does this work? What did I hear the other day? They were talking about like how when people have a specific skill, I can't remember what it is, but they were saying, I was watching, I love this podcast. I used to really like it. It's okay now, but it's called Dark Horse Podcast. And they were talking about how when people do science, like science isn't something that you can just teach people. There's actually a natural skill as well. And then once people become very, very good at doing science, they don't. It's not something that they can really break down into some academic way to teach it. It's like something that they have to you have to kind of observe it and do it with them, and then after a little while you can do it the way they do it. Because they were talking about like creating a hypothesis and then testing your hypothesis and all that stuff. And hey, stop it, Roxy. And then to me, that was nothing more than exactly what I've seen in programming, which I have associated with being an elite programmer. An elite programmer is someone that can get it done. You ask them, hey, can you write this code? And then they can write it. But then, like, if you ask them, well, why did you do this? Why did you do that? They can't explain any of it. And it's because, like, you're compressing thousands and thousands of concepts into, like, a minute. And then, like, trying to unwind all of those concepts so that somebody else can learn how to do them is just not realistic. And that's what I call a elite programmer. So there are clearly elite scientists, there's elite architects, elite auto mechanics, elite athletes, they can do it, but they can't explain it. And then I would say there's like experts. So like there's people that can play quarterback, right? You put them in American football, and you put them in that quarterback position, and somehow it just all works out. They can't explain it or anything. Then there's other people that like can explain exactly how to manage the pocket. That's like, oh, okay, I'm inside. There's these guys here. How do I move around so that so that they can't get to me? What are the mechanics of throwing? They know all that stuff, but they can't play quarterback at all. And those are people I would call experts. And I would say the biggest problem we have in our society is that we have way too many experts and not enough elites. Not enough people that can actually do, just lots of people that understand what needs to be done. And you really need a balance. But then there are some people that have a mastery, right? I call them masters. They are the master of it. They can explain it and do it. But for me, because a lot of these coding schemes that I created were in my teens and now I'm on my 50s, like I have to go back and just break them down. And that's sort of one of the major goals of this application. But so we could add a 1 second to this, right? And for some reason, even when we add a second to it, what happens is see, like it still doesn't update until after the final initialization. So I think all the code is in the right places, but for some reason the timing of the code, for some reason, I don't know if it's this. Like I don't see what's happening. Oh well, maybe it's this. Get Maybe during get renderer by ID is when it's happening. So what happens if I do this? 0. And see, this is like, what I'm about to do is, you do not want to leave code at all the way I want to do it. And if I remember correctly, this won't work if we don't have a set timeout, right? Let's just double check that. Because we have changed the code since we started doing this set timeout thing. So it's possible that we don't need that anymore. I don't know why we don't have that. Oh, because I got rid of the set timeout. Okay. Pebbles. Update. Okay, so it never works. It doesn't throw an error or anything. So we obviously need the set timeout. Now the question is after init complete is true. Oh, okay, so that's what keeps it from opening. And then this, the only job of this is to, so we're going to do another set timeout. You do not. This is the path to misery. You don't want to do this. And this is an interesting concept. So if I move this into here, it will return before this happens. It'll get it, because what it does is, pebbles, shush. Because what'll happen is it'll see the set timeout, it'll put this into the next loop, and then it'll get over here and return updated. So, that is structurally unsound. But I'm not that worried about that now, because the only reason that's there is for unit testing, and we are clearly just trying to get stuff working right now. So unit testing will come. That time will come, but this is not that time. Okay, so now it broke. So I'm guessing my console log is there. is ratio 1, ratio 1. All right, so we have gotten things working. The order is happening as it's supposed to, but um, it is weird. And I don't think do I have time on that? Or, yeah, and it's 0. So, like, it looks like this does a bunch of stuff, but whatever this does gets pushed to the next thing, and then suddenly we're here to another thing. And this is the path to destruction. This is the absolute path. It's so hard if you go down this path to end up writing maintainable code, because timing just becomes an absolute disaster. So I need to get that under control. So basically, I'm trying to just sort of think, okay, through. So this is supposed to just tell. So this code here does not want to get called immediately for some reason. So I set this viewer width. Oh, okay, I think this is starting to make sense. Okay, so I set this viewer width and height, right? That gets communicated down to the visualization component. We are up at the app layout component. So we're at the kind of the holder of this whole thing. And then it tells this guy to do this component to do stuff. The problem is that timing, like, it builds itself all up, and then it's done initializing, but the children aren't done initializing yet. And the data that we want to show here is calculated as a result of something that's happening in the child of the visualization in this component here, right? So like if we come over here, we look in here, like all of this stuff is happening over in here. But none of this gets to happen until the initialization is complete, and then this thing does its thing, and then the data is available. I don't know if that makes sense. So we have a component, and inside of that component is another component. All the information that I want to show in this outer component is calculated in the inner component. We were basically using Angular's after view init to process, to wait until everything's ready. The problem is yes, everything is ready in the outer visualization, but things aren't ready in the inner visualization yet. So what we need to do is I think what we need to do is the component needs to emit when it is complete, when it has completed its initialization. So let me ask ChatGPT about that, because I have run into this issue before, and I can't believe that like the folks over at Angular haven't run into this issue 100 times before. So I would assume that they've come up with a very elegant way to do it. And the thing is with Angular, probably the main benefit, the reason people want to use Angular is because it's highly opinionated. So it has a way it thinks you should do it, and then you better do it that way, or life gets very, very uncomfortable. So I have an Angular component. So I will say that this is like a problem that I've literally run into hundreds of times, and I've come up with solutions to fix it that worked because I just did trial and error, but I never understood what was actually going on. And this is literally the first time that I've understood that, oh, okay, my component inside while my outer component is is ready, an outer and it contains an inner Angular component, and I want to show some data in the outer Angular component, but that data is not calculated until the inner Angular component is complete. Does Angular provide a good way to wait until the inner component is initialized? To me, right off the bat, I think that right out of the gate, the first thing I think is that I could just omit that it's done from the child and then respond to that emit. Like it can run a function for me when it's done, right? Like you can tie a function in your outer component to the inner component, and then just have it to this event, and then just have it run in the outer component. That's probably, I've seen it done that way a lot of times, and that makes a lot of sense. But there may be an even better way to do it. I don't know. So that's why I'm asking ChatGPT. And I will say, using ChatGPT, I'm much, much better. It's been about a year since I've been using ChatGPT. I'm so much better at using it now because basically I know now that it won't necessarily tell me when there's a better solution or multiple solutions to choose from. It'll just kind of give me one. So anyways, in the inner component is a direct child of the template. You can reference it to the outer component. All right, so this is saying that you can use this app view child decorator, I believe that's a decorator, and hook into it somehow. So we have our inner component. Wait. Okay, I'm very confused. How did this? Wait a second. Okay, so I think what this is telling me is that as a side effect of creating the view child in here, it will wait until after the view ng after view. I think it's telling me that as a side effect of just adding this, that it will wait to call its own ng after view init. See, I'm already waiting for that, but I guess it won't wait for the child unless you've created one of these. I think that's what parent output. So this was my first thought, right, is to create an output from the inner child and then hook that to this code here. So updated, so this would still have the updated true in it. But this piece would be tied to, so this would get pulled out and be tied to that. That is the one I'm most comfortable with. I think that one, once the React, shared service. So I don't think data needs to flow both ways. I don't think the parent, but this is a good way to do it. Okay, so I'm already using the the ng after view init hook in the outer component. But I have not added the view child. Is if I add the view child, so the ng after view init is firing before the child has fired, has completed, I think. Before the child is completed. If I use the I think it's capital at view child. Maybe it said this. The outer ng after init code wait the child to complete as a side effect in the decorator. I don't even know if all those words are right, but good question. Okay. Okay, so it looks like I was a little wrong. It doesn't actually, it is actually, I guess that's the thing. Is okay, so let's just, since we're trying to learn. Log outer g after view init. And then what we want to do is we want to go to the visualization. Let's close everything else. It's going to be a little bit overwhelming if we have that. And we have, oh, so we have this. See, it's weird. Maybe this is where I should like omit something. Return has been initialized. Oh, so it looks like, oh yeah, I don't know. Inner component ng after view init. And then let's go over here. Clear our console because it's got some weirdo stuff in there. It's probably, yeah. Let's try this again. Ooh, crap, it's 9 o'clock. I gotta go. Just check this out. And okay, so outer, see, outer happened before the inner. So yeah, I don't think that's right. So anyways, I got to go, because I still have this set timeout. So basically, yeah, this guy is firing. See, ChatGPT was wrong, and this might be just a change, but outer, wait, darn it. Yeah, outer happens before inner. I don't know why it lied, or it just maybe something has changed or something, but this is not accurate. Only guarantees that the child component have run. Nope, nope. This definitely the outer ran before the inner. So I don't know. I don't know what that's all about, but I have to go. I wish I could dig in more. This is absolutely fascinating to me. Happy coding, everybody. Bye.